Okay. All right. Some of you may have read the articles we've done on largemouth minnow patterns. Me personally, my experience with fishing for largemouth yellows is limited. I haven't done a lot, but we've certainly tied a lot of flies for fishermen who have fished a lot for largemouth yellows. I think really though, this pattern is not focused just on catching largemouth. It's a tying technique using craft fur, which is a fantastic material. It's got a lot of movement. I'll just pass this around. You can swing it back to me fairly quickly because I'm going to be needing it. But it's almost got the characteristics of marabou, or that, what was that wild Muppet animal? Yeah, okay. So it's really got a lot of movement. It's soft. No, craft fur, it's been around forever. This is what they call extra select craft fur, which has got a little bit more length, but it's been around for a long time. It's got a lot of inbuilt movement. I'll pass a couple of Morris's largy minnows. These are done along the same sort of tying idea, but this was before we sort of started using craft fur, and they've got magic heads tied in the front. I've just finished an article doing this particular minnow with a diving lip as opposed to a magic head. Now you've got to see it in the water. But yeah, you can read the article. So what I'm really trying to show you tonight is not necessarily a fly just for largemouth yellows, but maybe a way you can experiment with these materials to tie, and you can. We've tied these from really small little minnows this size to something average like this. To your only limitation obviously is the length of your craft fur. Okay. If you look at the fly in the vise is something I just put together quickly. Just I usually make up brushes using wire and craft fur with a brush making tool, but not all of us here have a brush making tool. I'm hoping that most of you have some sort of spinning loop tool, and I'm sure if you don't, you can use a pair of hackle pliers. It's a little bit tricky, but to do this fly effectively you really need some sort of spinning loop tool, and if some of you don't, there's one here anyway that you can use after we've tied the pattern. We've got a bit of a weed guard in it. There's a few other materials. There's a dumbbell eye involved. I usually put a little reel eye into the pattern. I didn't have them in the small enough sizes for this size minnow because I wanted to go a little bit smaller than usual. So you can use, I've just used a sort of black nickel dumbbell. The hook we're going to use is a Gamakatsu B10S in a number 4. And I'm also going to show you how to put a weed guard in, put the eyes in, and I'm going to pass this pattern around. You'll feel there's a mono loop inside the material as well, which just helps with wrapping. A lot of the time with these softer materials, and that often when you're casting and fishing the fly, the material ends up wrapping, and you've made this great cast and you fished it in and it comes back spiraling, and you want to try and avoid that. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well. Okay, first thing we've got to do is just put a layer of thread. This particular color I'm using an olive. Really the only part of the fly where the thread is visible is right at the head end. You can use any color really. I don't think it's too much of an issue, but put a nice substantial layer. I like to mark off. The first mistake you're going to make with this particular pattern is you're going to probably put your dumbbell eyes, and just tell me guys if this goes out of focus or anything. All right, you're going to put your dumbbell eyes too close to the eye of the hook. You need to allow, and this goes for clouds or minnows for argument's sake, you need to leave enough space. If you think you've left enough, leave a little bit more. Always important. This particular pattern, the eyes are tied onto the underside of the hook. Now it's quite important with, so we just start with a bit of a figure of 8 just to get those eyes in position, and just have a look. Before I tighten that up, I've left enough space to put at least 2 to possibly 3 turns of the brush material in front of the eyes. Okay, you don't want to get those eyes right up at the front, then you're going to battle to get the right profile. Alright, we're going to start figure of 8ing.
Murray, the eyes, you're not putting them, is that more or less where you would put your clouds and minnow eyes?
As well? No, I would, just on the other side of the hook. Yeah. You know, you always look at a clouser and you think, no, If you think you've left enough space, leave a little
more.
bit more. It's kind of the golden rule.
And just tell me why. You know, the issue with these flies having to ride hook point down,
Well,
as opposed to hook point up.
Well, look, I think there's nothing wrong with tying it in the reverse. The way this fly is tied, if I could have that minnow back, the olive one, the little olive one, where is it gone?
This one, yeah.
Yeah, if I could just have that back. There's two important reasons for this, okay? First of all, most of the buoyancy of this pattern is above the hook shank. In other words, the material, the bulk of the material, you look, your hook shank's there.
Yeah.
The bulk of the material is above the hook shank.
Oh, so it'll obscure your gate.
That's the one reason,
Yeah.
but it's a very soft material. That's not my primary reason. But having the eye on the opposite side of the buoyancy ensures a fly that's going to ride the right way up almost 99% of the time. And if you decide to speed up your retrieve a little, it's not going to skew it. Hooking with the hook shank up like in a clouser, I don't think with a largemouth yellow that's going to make any huge difference on whether you're going to hook more or less or hurt the fish or anything really, because we're not using an overly sized hook here. But the primary reason, and Ian Courier with his go-to fly, by putting the lead eyes on the underside and the deer hair, the bulk of the deer hair above the hook shank, just ensured the fly rode the right way up every time. Because you don't want this fly doing all sorts of funny things. You want it to land, sit straight, and swim true. And that's the main reason for doing that. And you'll notice with all these flies as well, even flies as big as this, the buoyancy of this pattern is way above the eye, the metal eye. So you're putting buoyancy and weight in contradicting each other, and you're going to get a fly that's going to swim the right way, or a baitfish pattern. It's not really a fly, this. Okay, so we're just going to secure those eyes. You know, people ask me what's the right way to do this. There is no real pattern or rhyme or rhythm. You might decide to do a few turns more in the front, then you might go through twice like that, or you might decide to do continual figure of eights. What does make for a more durable eye is to always go around the shank once, then through the eye, then around the shank once, then through the eye, and then after you've done that a few times is to come around and pull your dumbbell eyes really tight. And what you're doing is you're pulling all those thread wraps together. Okay, and then obviously you want to just have a little look and see that your eyes are fairly straight. That's fine. Alright. Okay, now we're going to put the little mono loop in at the back here, just to aid in stopping the materials from wrapping. Going to go just so that when my thread lays straight down, it's right opposite or right in line with the point of the hook. The size mono that I'm using is, you can use 20 to 25 pound Maxima. Simple, cheap and cheerful. We just cut a length of that. And we'll just tie that in along the side of the hook. I've put it along the side of the hook. You can flatten it with flat nose pliers if you like, but it's not really necessary. And then we double this mono back again, and then get that along the side. Just make sure it's staying on the side of the hook. So there we've got a bit of a mono loop. It's quite stiff now with the 20 pound Maxima. The long leg I'm going to use as my actual weed guard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one of the legs flush with the dumbbells, and the other one I'm going to continue forward, get into the front of the eyes, and just pop this through the eye of the hook.
You're coming over on top of the hook shank.
Yeah, I'm coming over on top of the hook shank here. All the way to up against the eye, double it back, and that's going to form my weed guard. This is not really a weed guard, it's more of a deflector. Okay, what this bit of mono does is it just kind of helps, because I can tell you now the dumbbells in there are going to cause more problems with hyacinth and weed than anything else, but it just helps. It certainly helps the fly get through rocky areas and a bit of the weed and so on. And I'm just going to cut that. I'm not going to cut it to the length I want it to be now, but I'm going to just get it basically out of my way a bit.
Sorry, Mary,
Yes.
the length of the loop, is that about sort of estimately about a third of the length of the tail?
Yeah, you know, you can make this. It has to be quite proud of the bend of the hook.
Okay.
So if you go that long or even a bit longer, it doesn't really matter. But what you don't want is this tiny little loop sitting over here that's not proud of the bend, because then it's going to defeat the object.
Yeah.
Okay, you need something. We do this in all our tarpon flies as well with rabbit strip and so on. It just helps. I'm also going to put another material into this fly that's going to further assist in that wrapping, because that's a big problem in these kind of flies. Flies that have got this very soft, flexible material, you don't want that happening. Now you can see I really have to give it a pull for that to happen. Once this is wet and slicked down, and with that mono loop, it's very unlikely to wrap during the casting. Because you can make a fly that looks really pretty and great, but if it doesn't fish properly, you're kind of wasting your time. Alright, we're now going to run this thread back to where we tied in that loop. I'm just going to cut that even a little bit shorter so it doesn't bother me. What you want to be careful of is that mono must be proud of the point. You don't want it over here, because it's not going to do anything. It's got to be beyond the point of the hook, so that if this hits anything, it kind of deflects the pattern away from any sort of obstruction. Right. I just chose a bit of calf body fur, just purely not calf body fur, calf body fur, as opposed to calf tail. It's a bit straighter, it's short fibered, it's nice and stiff, and we're going to use that to sort of start the belly of the baitfish pattern. Just get rid of the short little fluffy bits, you don't want that. So we end up with a fairly nice straight length of calf body. Calf tail is very kinky and twisted and all over the place. Actually, I don't. It's the same material we'll use in the wings of royal wolves, etc. It's a lot straighter, and that just gets tied in straight on top.
You don't bother about stacking that?
No, not necessary. I don't want a toothbrush here. It's not necessary, you know. And calf body is quite forgiving. It's fairly even and symmetrical, right?
That's just going to put it out of focus.
We're back in focus. Yeah, it's the one thing with movement with this little idea that doesn't. It's also to do with light. Okay. Now, what you do here, you can become very creative with this pattern. I mean, what I'm putting in is a bit of baitfish, what they call emulator flash. For the bellies of these flies, you want to stay away from flashabou or crystal flash. You want to use a flash that has some sort of a nylon weave in it, or a nylon-based material, which this does. Polar flash is a good example. Fission's UV flash. It's also very good for this. It's got a bit of a nylon strand, and you'll see when you're tying with it that it has a nylon strand wound around the actual flash material. Just adds a little more stiffness. Also aids in this pattern, not that wrapping problem we were talking about earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tie quite a bit of this, because we're going to trim it to shape afterwards. So I'm going to tie a bit of this on the top, a bit of this baitfish flash on the top, like so, and just kind of roll it, flatten it. Unlike a clouser, we want it to actually spread a bit. We don't want it to stack. Yeah, we want it to.
Yeah.
Now we're going to swing it underneath, and we're going to put a bit on the underside of it as well. Now Fission makes a brush, their sort of streamer brushes. You can actually take about 2 or 3 turns of that brush in this belly area, trim it to shape, and you can get a very nice effect as well. That's another option. Right, just tie this straight on top. We'll spread it to each side of the hook now. And what we do is we just pull that and tie that down. Okay, so we've got a bit of a shuttlecock effect there. And just trim your waist. Watch that little wee guard. Okay. This particular color, you probably can't see it in this light, but it's not a bright white, it's more of a gray color. I'm not too crazy about harsh white, That calf tail, why did I put it in there? It's just to add a little more stiffness to this whole thing, give it a little bit more body. and to again help with the wrapping. It's really meat and potatoes tying from here on in. What we're going to do now is we're going to just bind down that waist a little bit, and we're going to start with the craft fur. Craft fur comes in, I think Hairline's got 38 or 40 colors. So you're not limited in what sort of baitfish you can imitate, and really with this tying style there's any baitfish you can imitate. We're going to use some marking pens on it. It takes marking pen probably better than any other material. What I've decided to select is a bit of tan first. It's going to go on, then we're going to go on to a light olive and then a dark olive, and then we're going to do the brush part of the fly. When you cut from the craft fur, there's quite a lot of thick, short sort of fluff here. Okay, it makes good dubbing. You want to keep it by all means, but we don't want it in the fly. It's going to create too much bulk.
Did you choose a length there, or did you take
No,
it as long as you could get?
yeah, as long as you'll find it's consistent. It's not like a natural product. It's long throughout. Yeah. So, and you can trim craft fur or pinch it and break it with your thumbnails. So you don't have to be too phased about length here. We're going to trim this after the fly is tied. Okay, the tan's going to go on top. Once again, once you tie it, just squash it down, flatten it a bit. What that does is it kind of creates a bit more of a, rather than trying to stack it all on top, okay? Get that down nice and tight.
Marie, is specific on patterns that they that work well for largemouth?
Well, a couple of patterns the guys talk about are your 3-spot barbs, your small little kerper, that little what's that little silver minnow called? Yeah, a little straightened, but it's a little silver.
Yeah.
All those patterns can be imitated with this tying style. I mean, any baitfish, really, any baitfish. If you get a book, Freshwater Fishes of Southern Africa, what's his name, the author? Skelton.
Yeah.
In that book, all of these baitfish are in there. Really good little photograph of it, plus a sketch.
Normally a sketch.
Yeah, normally sketches, and the colors are in there, and everything's in there, so you can get quite scientific about it if you want to. After the tan, I've just taken a little bit of copper colored wing and flash. The whole thing about flash is, and just talking about, if we're talking about largemouth, I think these particular types of flies work better in sort of clearer conditions. When the water is, look, the vial's never really clean, or clear, or crystal clear, but certainly in conditions where the water's not too dirty. We've tied this in all black versions as well, which has worked. A lot of guys have caught some fantastic largemouth on good old black woolly buggers. And you'll say, well, why go through all this hassle? I said, because it's fun, I mean, I'm really not going to sit and just tie black woolly buggers to catch largemouth or any fish for that matter. It kind of defeats the object of tying. Alright, very little. Just remember, the thing about flash is you can always cut it out. It's not easy to add it in once you finish the fly, but it can always be removed. So if you want to overdo the flash, by all means put more flash in than you usually would. You can trim it out and tweak it as you go. Okay, we're going to go on to a bit of the light olive now, craft fur. Obviously you guys need to come and select some craft fur from this. Just run your scissors into it like this so that you can see what you're going to need. I would have sat there and cut this up into blocks, but I wasn't feeling that enthusiastic about it, no. And I think you lose a lot of the fur when you do that. So you're going to just have to take your time to get, because I hope you're all going to have a try at this, because it's not difficult. Okay. A bit of the olive. The nice thing about craft fur as well, it's got these long tapering tips which gives you all that nice movement, and then it bulks up into the, similar to like a natural material, although it isn't. So we're going to pop a bit of this olive on. If you want to get particular about, and you don't have to worry about trimming, you can actually trim to length before you tie in. So I can tie it in, and then I don't have to worry about the trimming side of it.
Mate, did you tie that directly on top or a little bit slightly forward?
It's slightly forward, very slightly forward, yeah. What you can do is you can stagger it forward, but you must, if you're going to do that, don't stagger it too much, because when I do the dubbing loop just now, or the brush if you want to call it that, If you go too far forward too much, you're going to show a lot of thread on this sort of underside of it.
Does that also tend to lose the bulk of the head?
Yeah, it does. It does. Lateral lines. I think a lateral line in a baitfish pattern is very important. I know we tied a bunch of flies for Arno, Mattia, and for when they were still with Castaways, when they were doing their tiger trips. And by the way, this style of tying for tigers is also very effective. And he was very specific about having a lateral line in. I've just chosen some olive polar flash here. You can use any sort of look for a stiffer flashaboo material and something that's got a bit more body to it. And that's just tied straight in on top. And I like to sandwich flash between materials. I don't like too much flash lying on the outside of the material. I like to kind of embed it inside the material. It kind of glows through, it settles it down a little bit. But more importantly, it also avoids all that wrapping, and because once this fly is wet and sleeks down, the craft fur kind of holds everything together when you're casting and so on, so it doesn't get all wrapped up.
Down the side.
You could, yeah, you could put a bit of flash down the side if you like, but just be careful when you do that, because that's the stuff that starts to flay all over the place. If you're going to do that, go for something that's a little more stiffer in nature, like maybe crystal flash. Sorry?
Like a grizzly hackle.
Yeah, you could put a grizzly. The opportunities with this are really endless. I mean, you could. Why we call it a Krafty Minnow is because the bulk of it is made by craft fur. But if you want to put a very thin barred grizzly hackle, you'll see how this takes marking pen just now. But if you want to put a nice thin barred grizzly down there from a saddle, by all means. Right, I'm going to pop a little more. And if you want to do a bit of a shortcut here, you can lay your light olive. I've taken a little less than the first bunch, and we'll take a bit of dark.
Sorry, did you flatten that down again, or have you just left it bunched on top then?
What, this material this side?
Top.
No, I didn't flatten it down. I just tied it straight in here. I didn't roll it out or flatten it down. No. What we're going to do now is just do a bit of a shortcut here and take a dark olive on top of a bit of light olive. You could have put just straight. I'm just trying to create a bit of bulk here, a bit of profile to it. Right. And then we're done with that part of it. We're going to go on to the actual brush section of the fly now.
I just wanted to say something about the polar the craft fur. My brother fishes in the salt a lot, and you get that material called polar fiber, which you can buy, like the
Yes.
fur. To try and tie the same sort of patterns out of polar fiber.
What fur?
Dashboard fur.
Dashboard fur. You can get it for free in Lenasia.
You don't have a Dyson and Archie.
Lenasia, it's everywhere.
That's a really strong. It's a substitute. But there's a major difference between the two. Craft fur actually has got these longer and slightly stiffer fibers mixed in with the fur. So it's much more like a natural fur. If you use the dashboard fur,
It's the dashboard fur.
it just all flattens up. Your pattern looks like nothing. It just goes all flat, and it loses its bulk. So
It's like the street cred.
so don't try and substitute it with dashboard fur.
Correct. Oh dear.
Before you put in the mixture of those two colours,
Yes.
what was the last material you tied?
Basically, I've put in the tan, then I put in the olive, then I put olive flash, and then a bit of olive and dark olive. Okay.
I'm missing something. Why don't you just put in more of the light olive?
I like to sandwich the flash in between.
So is flash in between?
Yes, there's your flash in between. You'll see this in the water. You've got to actually take, if you've got a swimming pool at home or some clean water, is just to put it in that and see how that flash glows from within the pattern, gives it that lateral line effect. And this craft fur in the water it's got an unbelievable motion. And you must see it with that lady's nail diving lip and a lead keel at the back here. That's a Rapala. done. It's a Rapala. I promise you, that thing is like
Yes.
all over the place.
That
Yeah.
articulating one that you made the last time, Murray.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's got an unbelievable action. You get yourself some ladies' clear fingernails from Clicks. Comes in 5 sizes, 10 of each.
Send your wife to buy.
Yeah. It's pliable, it bends, it's all over the place, so they don't snap. But the trick is to put 3 or 4 turns of lead wire super glued just on the bend. That's the trick.
And then what do you put the nail as a scoop?
The nail is cut like in a long point like this with the
Like a
actual
lip,
nail, actual lip, and you can bend it, and it's a Rapala.
There's a knife.
Mary, I've tried that, but my nails break. They actually.
You must buy them at Clicks, not at...
Using shit products, eh?
I've actually tried
Is
them.
that after a few tiger fish or...
No. When you start stripping it, it just flatters out.
No,
You
it's,
sell your
when
hands
you tie it in though, you've got to...
I cut it in
It's
a
a
little.
long point, and then what you do is you take a ruler and you take your dubbing needle, and
Yes.
you must just scour the lip straight down the middle,
Yes.
and then it kinks like that, okay?
Yeah.
And then when you tie it in, you tie it right up to against the eye there, and you just bend it into position, and then all I do is drop a bit of Sally Hansen's in at that head area,
Yeah.
and I don't have a problem, eh?
No, mine just breaks all the time.
I mean, ladies' fingernails take a lot of punishment.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing about them. If that's a problem for you, you can also use the plastic from blister packaging. It works very well. You know these blister
Yeah,
packaging.
I've used that.
Also,
yeah.
I use that more on the little damsels and things like
yeah.
that. Yeah. Right. Okay, onto the brush. Now, as I say, I usually make a craft fur brush with wire on a brush tool, but we don't have a whole bucket load of brush tools here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to double into a normal dubbing loop. Okay, and I'll just make it large enough or long enough. It's got to basically get from here to there. Okay, so we've got to have enough material and a big enough loop to do that. Once you've made your loop, you can advance your thread forward and get it up against the eye of the hook. Right, we'll just trap this with our tool and just leave that to lay there. Now, when you go now to select, and I'm using the light olive for this, you need to get in there and get yourself quite a healthy bunch, much more than we've been getting into the wing. Okay, so you have to get yourself quite a healthy section there. Cut that off. Luckily there's only about 12 or 13 of us here tonight, otherwise I don't think we'd have enough craft fur. But you'll see I've selected a very healthy bunch, okay? And then same thing again, get rid of those short furs, they're just going to create a problem. And then you can lay that on the table, because we're going to add some flash to it. I'm just going to select a little bit more of this copper colored winging flash. It's a very long fiber, so you just need that much, you don't need a lot. This is quite difficult to remove, so don't put too much of it into it. That looks great. Lift that up, and then we're just going to pop that into our loop. Now, the trick here now is to spread this out, and you've got to be quite... Can you see what I'm doing here? Okay, we've got to spread it well out, thin it right down. Get the length.
Spread when the loop's closed.
Yeah, I've got my loop pulled closed here. And what I do is I hold here and pull down here.
Yeah.
Hold and pull. Just to evenly distribute it as best you can. Also what you'll see is I've put the long natural tips, if you can call them natural tips, to the one side.
Yes.
Okay? They're all over here. Where the butt ends, I'm trying to get them as close to the thread as possible. It just takes a little bit of doing it a few times. You might mess up a couple, but it's not too difficult. Alright, then we just twist that up. Now what you're gonna no, it's this tool that makes it look easy. The best dubbing twister that was ever made was Pedder's dubbing twister.
That one that you're using there.
Yeah, these guys with all the heavy weights on the bottom and spin this, not for this type of tying. Okay, you can use Velcro. I left my tool in the bag there. A normal piece of Velcro with the little hooks.
Yes.
I've got a wire Shrek's toothbrush, as my son calls it. And that works very well just to start to loosen up these fibers. And twist it a bit more. Don't be too aggressive with this toothbrush just yet.
Isn't it like a suede brush, eh?
A suede? Yeah.
Isn't it a suede brush?
No, it's metal. Eh?
Yeah, but
But
for suede shoes, isn't it?
Is that what they use it for?
I think so.
Okay. I always thought it was used.
I one was great for.
I thought it was always for cleaning metal parts with or whatever.
Oh,
but
maybe that too.
yeah.
So how's it Elvis?
How's it, Elvis? Yeah.
Everyone here uses it on his nails.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
No, I won't.
Yeah, no.
Right, that's nice and tight. You can have a little check, see that those fibers are not going to pull out, and then you can get quite aggressive with the wire brush. Right. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're just going to start winding this forward. You start right up. Now what you must make sure you do is to pull all the fibers to one side. You've got to do that as you wind forward.
Murray, is there any reason that, like, there with your flash is more sort of to the top of that brush than...
No, it's just kind of worked out that way with the twisting and that. You'll see it's going to look like something the cat coughed up when I'm finished doing this winding. But when we tease it out and we give it a comb and a stroke and a bit of a trim, it kind of all comes together, you know. Right, this is always the question, what happens here now? We got these eyes in the way, right? The way I like to tackle it is, you got to watch that weed guard for starters. You'll see I've just caught it there now. So be very careful that you don't trap your weed guard. That's the first thing. Just keep that weed guard. I'm right in behind the eyes. I like to take a turn through in front, pull the fibers back, through, watch that weed guard, still lacquer, one more through, and then start up in front. What it does is it just closes up the thread, you know, exposed thread there, and if you're really lucky you kind of get it to finish off where you want it to, which I haven't, but that doesn't matter, we can always tie it off. See if I can get a couple more turns. There we go. Right, now we can tie that off. Like I said, it looks really scary before it gets groomed. And right, just pull that all back and put your head in. We're done with the tying part now. Okay, and then we'll just put a whip finish in.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
On that brush, I notice on these others you've got different colours. Obviously you're progressing forward. Are you using different brushes there, of different sizes? Or is it all one brush that you're just multi-colouring along?
On the ones that were finished that you saw?
Those two that were lying over there.
The bigger ones?
Yeah.
Okay, this particular one here, it's that UV flash, that polar flash that we spoke about. Sorry, there's polar flash involved in the belly. It's tied on the sides, on the underneath, on top. There's then a bit of EP fiber or mirror image. Then we've got some DNA hollow fusion. Then what's been used at the front here is a Simmons streamer brush in gold. Sommer wine forward, and then marking pens.
So
Marking pens are very involved in finish. You'll see this, you know, this fly, as you see it now, is just like this very drab olive. It's all over the place. And then we finish it off with a bit of marking pen. You can blend craft food. You can put a bit of black and olive together and do what I did, and it works. If you've got a magic tool, which hopefully one of you will have next meeting, you can use your magic tool as well to blend flash and different colors of craft fur, etc. into it. Have any of you guys tied with power silk before? Power silk. It's a new. We got this from the UK. We're going to start stocking it. Who wants to try and break this 10-0 thread with their hands?
10-0.
It's 10-0. Yeah, break it. Just don't cut your fingers, and I'm not joking. It's 10-0. Try break it. Really, just watch your fingers, Herman. You will not break it. Pass it around. Let the axe try and break it.
Kevlar base.
It's power silk.
No, so it's a Kevlar.
It's a Kevlar,
It's the
but
same as that.
it's a multi-stranded 10-0. It winds unbelievably fine. You cannot break it.
Murray, what I found with Kevlar, I used
Look at this! I broke it, but I mean, I pulled my hands on it.
You'll eventually break it, but it's...
Kevlar, actually, your materials slide off it.
No, look, certain fly applications like...
And it's black.
I think it's got sand in the...
Clearly we have one less participant.
Hey, Brian's gonna make me, my boss, not that this happened, gonna make me a private offer for it afterwards.
That's what's nice about doing this videoing. Is somebody going to edit this whole thing?
We'll have to at some stage.
Do we have to?
Oh, you must. And you can, when I say edit, you can capture all this. We've had a lot of fun, Dave, with those, all the guys talking in anyway. Right, trimming the pattern. Let's get my light back on the scene. Charlie's got to get a decent lighter. This thing is...
It's okay, yeah, we can trim it down and then pop it on YouTube and just embed it on the site.
Right. Okay, as I was saying, on the trimming, you want to be quite decisive about trimming along the bottom, getting most of that material. And watch that weed guard. Okay, don't go too quickly in here, all right? Here, because what has happened, this brush has become part of the whole profile of the baitfish. Okay, it's sort of conformed into the whole scheme of the wing at the back. What I do is I start to just trim it down a little bit, just to create a bit of a head area to the baitfish, but be very, and I usually trim from the back down. I don't like to trim that way, but I'm going to leave it in the vise, so we're going to put up with that. In other words, you want to trim that way. I'm going to swing it around this way a bit.
So Murray, would you actually take it off?
I would. I don't trim it in the vise ever.
Is it?
Okay, with this belly, we want to make this very short. You've got a mono loop in there, and that will create that baitfish belly, and it also eliminates wrapping even further. We don't want too much white. We just want a bit of that UV showing through. And this is too long for this size hook, so I'm just slowly. That's my length. I'm happy with that length.
Sorry, Murray, length
Yes.
compared to about 3 times?
It's at least 3 to 4 times. You mustn't make it too long, otherwise make a bigger, put a bigger hook, you know. I reckon a good standard for any saltwater baitfish clouser is, I'd say 2.5 to 3 times the size of the hook. Once you go beyond that, you must rather... I used to always have that problem in the fly tying factories, you know. You'd say to the guys, okay, I want you to tie 2.0 and 4.0. And they both look exactly the same. So no, 2.0 and 4.0, yes, the hook's different, but the fly's the same length. Okay, and then that was the hardest thing to teach. No, you've got to bring everything into proportion to the hook. Yeah, and otherwise, so we eventually got it right. Alphonse, he understands that finally. He's a master at it. Right.
He was a chap that night that he...
Yeah, no, he's a great tyer. And he's got a sense of humor about it now, finally. He actually understands our sense of humor. We used to, when you'd leave his fly in the vise and go somewhere for lunch, we'd mess his fly up and tie these big feathers on it and eyes. And it's taken him a few years, but now he does it to us. Come back there and this fly of yours has been like completely modified, and you can hear him laughing in the background. You know? Old Alphonse, yeah. Sorry guys, this light's right. Okay. The main thing about trimming is to get the bulk of your material away from the bottom. You want the buoyancy above. There you can see it. My hook shank's probably about there. The bulk of the material is above the hook shank. That's going to just ensure that the fly rides the right way up. You can get particular about your trimming, and we've got a few little... Right. I'm going to stop there, otherwise we're going to be all night. Okay, marking pens. Copics, Pantone, whatever you like. I just decided to choose a bit of red. And I put that in on the white, just behind the olive. I'll swing it around now.
You're just barring it.
No, I'm just putting a gill in.
These markers, they hold the color on the fiber quite a long time.
They do, you know. I mean, particularly on the craft fur.
Yeah.
I'm putting the bulk of this markings on the flash. It does fade,
Yeah,
but you know, it's flight. Yeah, you touch it up every now and again.
Yeah.
I usually have a bit of a darker olive, which I bought my wrong olive, but this will work. And then what I'll do is I'll just darken this up a touch. Very little.
You
And
tie in a hotspot instead of, like, for instance, marking it, right?
I beg your pardon. Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. Absolutely. If you wanted to rather tie in a bit of orange, why not? You could put a bit of orange material coming out each side of the white that we put in. I mean, that's why I say this is just a you know, baitfish patterns have come a long way over the years. You know, the old deceiver has its shortcomings as well, you know, as a baitfish pattern. I just think brushes and brush flies are the way forward. I mean, to imitate baitfish, you cannot come close. What you can do with these kind of techniques, it's endless. I'm going to just take a bit of black now, just touch it on top.
Murray, would you ever tie these like production style? You do all the tails and then you do all the...
I hate production tying, but the most I would do from a production point of view would be to put my eye and my loop and my mono weed guard.
Is it?
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah.
It's quite a quick fly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, talking and going through it, but you'll see you can tie these very quickly. And craft fur has the action of marabou. It's just such a lacquer material. It really is. Okay, I'm just barring this side. You can't see it now, but we'll swing it around, and then we can. A bit of brown marking pen on top of this olive really makes it look great. And you'll notice how the craft fur really just sucks up this marking pen. Just to answer Herman's question, that the craft fur holds the marking pen very, very well, because it kind of soaks in. It doesn't just cover the surface, yeah. And that's it. And I mean, with 38, 40 colors, whatever it is, of craft fur and a few marking pens, I don't think there's too many baitfish that you can't imitate. Fly fish is unlimited. It's got a whole range of craft fur.
Don't get it at the craft shops.
Where's that again?
You get the polar fiber at the craft shop, that's what I'm saying. If you try and get short, but it doesn't
Go to Showbiz for those pens.
Yeah, Showbiz or Herbert Evans has got
Showbiz sell a lacquer pack of
Murray, what's the shop
Copic
number again?
ones, I think.
my shop number.
Yeah.
What, phone number or the shop number?
No, the extra shop number.
Yeah, U3.4.
U3.4.
It was a shop that was one that was divided into two, so we got, that's it guys, really. That's I like a fly with an eye with a pupil like these, but as I say, I was out of the right size for this size minnow, but that's the crafty minnow. A lot of action, a lot of movement. That mono weed guard in there stops it wrapping. It doesn't wrap once it's wet. It's very easy to cast. It slicks right down. It's like a bullet. You can cast this thing very easily.
Murray, have you used these for tiger yet?
Brush style flies, yes, but not with craft fur. Not with craft fur, no.
Have you tied some up to go to Scoma and see now?
Yeah, and guys are tying them for Costa Rica for tarpon as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why do you think the craft fur would stand up to tigers though? Those teeth.
Nothing does, but probably no less than bucktail. I think Steve Farrow blends and some of the other synthetics maybe last a little longer marginally, but you know, it depends on the tiger. A small tiger are what kill flies. I mean, they come and they go guck, 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 and then you get dumble eyes and that's it. And all the bucktail's gone or whatever. bigger tiger, they don't tend to destroy the fly as quickly. Yeah. And that's it. I hope you guys are going to have a go at it. Give it a shot.
Sure.
Mary, what fur's on the top of this fly here with the...
This one?
Yeah, right on the top.
That.
What is that?
That is organza, ladies' wedding dress material that has just been
Frayed out.
now they call it DNA.
Okay.
You've seen DNA and DNA hollow fusion in the shops, but all it really is ladies' wedding dress material, and you can buy it in a sheet and you sit there and you strip it out. That's what it actually is. Yeah, that's what it is.
I've got some blue salt water flowers. It's deadly, especially.
I've got a nice orange.
Mary, have you coloured this one though?
Yes, that's been
Also with Copic
yeah, with Copic marking pens. Yes.
Because I was wondering when you actually managed to find the colour, because it's almost got like a translucence.
Yeah, you know what this stuff is actually...
If you take that fly as its standard color, it's pearl white and a gold brush, and the organza is white as well. It's white and gold, and then the marking pens finish it off.
Try and pull it.
Mary, if you want to get these brushes
You have
to
to
take
actually
a bit more bush, how would you manage to achieve that? Do you need longer fibres or?
No, it's how tightly you put the material in your loop.
So when you instead of
When
spreading
I
it through the
spread it
bottom,
out really far,
yeah.
you keep it more compact. But there's a downside to that on big flies. It's fine, but on small flies it gets
bulky.
messy. Gets messy. You know, I'm a little more of one to sort of err on sparseness. You know? But if you look at this, if you look at this as a baitfish pattern, if you look at it from the bottom, it's got a profile. It's got profile from the side, from the top. It's got more than enough material in there. It's the same with any one of these. You don't need to make this big fat thing. A lot of those high tie types of flies,
Just looking at like the size of that brush there versus the size of the one that we've been tying
completely
up. Obviously,
different brush. This brush is a pre-made or pre-bought brush. Now, if you want to create this effect, Fish and make a fantastic brush out of their fish, what's it called? Fish fizz or frizz fiber. You can buy them. Yeah,
It's just slightly stiffer, or is it?
it's a slightly stiffer material, and it's a more bulky material. This is made with it. This one's done with that Senyo's laser yarn. Slightly, but this has got a very flat profile.
Yeah.
See,
And how did you manage to get the flatness of that
trim
profile
it
in there?
more.
Just trim it.
I trimmed it a lot more.
Trimmed it on the sides.
Yeah, because there's no dumbbell eyes in the way here, so I went and I really trimmed it close to
You
the
just
side.
leave it higher on top and maybe a little bit thicker on the bottom.
That's it.
Looks like what I suppose you call them.
That's just a thing.
It's very close, eh?
Yeah.
Whoops.
But the colour's not quite the same, but it's very similar shape.
You vary the colors, you'll get it, yeah. Absolutely.
So this is the Sanyo.
Senyo's laser yarn.
It's just beautiful, man.
Yeah,
It's a lot of,
they call it rainbow. It's a different material.
I was going to say, you can actually buy a thread for doing jeans. We've used it once or twice. We call it Astra. It's exactly the same
Exactly
type of thing.
the
It's
same.
like different, it's got multi-colors running right through the thread.
That's a lateral line, eh?
That's done with that lateral scale.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. Bit more prominent and solid. Yeah.
Very thanks, that was great.
Pleasure, guys. Pleasure. Yeah, no problem. There's some more kaffa body. Yeah, it's a bit of a difficult fly to take in stages, but you can. You just cut a few clumps.
Amazing.
Yeah, what we're going to do, how much for that? 20. It's a deluxe item. You ask the guys. Guys, raffle ticket, because with you guys, we can either do it on another time, or tickets $20. What do you guys say? No, 20 is fine. Just buy more tickets. Okay, alright, $20. Ivan's going to come around. You must give to Ivan, he's got the... Yeah. Your chance of getting lucky is good tonight. Yes. Is it in the... That's right, yeah. No, but that three-way draw I decided to keep. Not for sale. Not for sale anymore. I sold the five-way, but three-way. I just thought, no. This is just too lucky. I'm going to keep it.
I saw your name the other day.
Raffle Now give me money.
No, but I was putting up the price. Maybe I should keep it.
If you wanted to keep it.
I win it back again.
Give me money. Straight.
Mary, you want this reel?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
I'm sure Mike's got a lot of frogs. He's got enough rod reels lying around.
No, I know. Nothing wrong with the reel, but no thanks. I'm fine.
No, I can give you lots of How many do you want?
I'll set up the call. Just chucking the photos into the documents and saving a PDF. Maybe what I'll